A little bit about us before we dive into Circle. So some of you I know that are signed up are familiar with Digits. We might have met before. Some of you might be brand new, or you might have been, sort of newer into who Digits is. And so I got a little bit just to talk about who we are as an agency. But Digits, there's nobody better than us to sort of review the content today. We are the Circle experts. And so we operate a center of excellence for all target retail media, both strategy and hands-on keyboard execution. Myself, I own and operate Digits, and my background is I had worked at Target 14 years. My last 4 was spent actually building Cartwheel and then launching out and running Cartwheel for a couple of years. Cartwheel, if you don't know the history, was the original name of Circle. So they rebranded Circle a couple of years ago, and obviously relaunched it just recently as well. But so have a lot of history kind of with the platform and how it works and how to be successful on it as brands. A lot of our Digits team, we are local here in Minneapolis. We are former Roundel, former site merchants, former store side merchants or digital merchants, and former Circle team. So we bring a ton of expertise on how Target works and how brands to be most successful and win market share at Target. As an agency, all we do is retail media, 3 big buckets of work. One here in red, we work for brands, we run national RMNs work, and then we also focus in on that Target digital COE. So today, we manage and support digital business at Target for over $6 billion of annual sales. So that's everywhere from top 5 CPGs to more mid-market CPGs to startup brands that are just trying to get their foot into Target and really drive some sales. So we can help any brand into Target regardless of size. We also work directly for some smaller regional grocers where we help them as agency of record building out RMN type tactics and operations. And then we do a good amount of work in the alcohol space. Alcohol is its in its own different rules and regulations around retail media. So we do a lot of specialty work there, both around Target and then also sort of around the US in other spots as well. Specific to Target, this is our flywheel of services, everywhere from digital shelf, which is pictures and images and copy, to Target Circle, to hands-on keyboard paid search through Roundel Media Studio or Criteo or Citrus. We also do Roundel work where we manage vendors' spends into Roundel. And we also have our own hands-on keyboard for Roundel programmatic with our seats at the trade desk and other DSPs as well. So we buy and manage that on behalf of brands. And then we also do a lot of what we call Digits media, which is third-party media meant to complement what you're doing with Roundel. So these sometimes are additional campaigns, smaller campaigns, geo-targeted campaigns, things where you want to be a little bit more flexible and a little more targeted and likely a little more cheaper than what you're doing within Roundel. And then we also do the same thing on social via Meta or via TikTok. And we also have our own proprietary handles on TikTok and Instagram called target.trip. So if you haven't followed those, give those a follow. And we're posting proprietary content on just about a daily basis on all those platforms. And last call to action within Circle here is if you're not too familiar with how you or your category has used Circle, we do keep track of the offers that run on the platform. And we make that available via a Circle market share report. So if you're interested within your category, be it candy or pets or laundry detergent, whatever your category might be, fill out a Circle market share report on our website, and we'll be able to then send you details of what we have seen in that category. All right, from here, we're gonna pivot a bit into a sort of an open discussion between Chris and I just on what we're seeing within Circle. And that'll set us up nicely before we dive into all of the screen shares and whatnot. So I'm gonna reintroduce Chris here, and then we're gonna start to kind of walk through a little bit of speaker discussion on what we're seeing with Target.
Yeah, sounds great. I'll kick off the first one here then, Dave. So just in terms of first topic, Target Circle importance. So this was first launched and announced during the most recent earnings call. Kind of what did we hear there, and kind of knowing your history, running Cartwheel at the time, like where does Target Circle sit in the Target ecosystem in terms of importance now?
Yeah, I mean, the earnings call was for us Circle nerds was quite quite a fun watch. I mean, I'd say I've been involved with Circle now for over 10 years. And that was by far the most executive visibility we have seen them do it. So we actually we got a copy of the transcript and we checked. They mentioned Target Circle 47 times on the earnings call.
It's a
So
lot.
it was all the way from Brian down to guest experience to marketing and whatnot. And so Circle, when it launched at Target, was really influential in helping build Target's mobile strategy and like mobile user base up. It really built a lot of the base of Target's mobile business that helped it succeed with Drive Up. When COVID hit a couple of years ago, and everybody pivoted to Drive Up. And I think Target now is really looking for it to kind of drive that next wave of growth. And so that's what you heard on the earnings call of how do they develop better relationships with their guests. How do they remove some friction within it and make Circle, more appealing for a wider group of guests than they've had in the past?
Yeah, tell me more about that. Like you touched on that a little bit. Like what were Target's underlying motivate? Like Circle has been a successful channel for a number of years at Target. What were Target's motivations for making changes now?
Yeah. I mean, I think one, they had some new leadership. So there's a new CMO, a new chief guest officer, a new growth officer, all within the last, year or two. And so I think Target's looking for what's next to drive that growth. Two, based on some of the comments they've made, we're assuming they did some shop alongs and guest intercepts with some of their best shoppers and heard from enough shoppers that said, hey, I love all these Circle deals, but I'm not going to walk around with my phone all the time when I'm in store and search for pizza and find deals or search for canned soup and find deals or whatnot. And they just wanted to make that a little bit easier. And so, the big change they announced at earnings and the big change that everybody's working through now is the auto apply feature. And so I think, with auto apply, it should be easier for shoppers as they can kind of like see Circle deals. They know what's going to come off at the receipt when they get there. And there's a lot less hesitancy and list making on that part of it.
Sure, sure, makes sense.
Yeah. And I think some of the data we have, and you'll see in the slides, but Target Circle offers used to be used on maybe 20% of transactions, 25% of transactions. And I think now with this wider net, it's like 65, 70% of transactions. And so, the number of shoppers that I think are engaging now is much bigger. And Target's starting to get and moved on the path that I think that they want to. But Chris, for those on the call that maybe haven't worked with Chris is closer to the account business than I am. So Chris is our VP of Target Retail Media, works hand in hand, day in day with a lot of our clients. So Chris, what have you heard from clients so far? What's the early reception?
Yeah, so we've obviously had a lot of conversations with our brand partners at Target. I think they see and understand like a lot of the things that you just shared of like Target motivations, making it easier for the guest. So I think that all makes sense. Historically, our brand partners, have really looked to Circle because they've really appreciated both the autonomy of being able to control your own promotions, determine what your own individual deals are outside of what Target is generally doing more at a higher kind of category level in promoting their business, as well as efficiency. So like historically, Circle has been the most efficient surgical promotional tool that you can use to drive your business in terms of like pure ROI and very scalable to whatever your markdown or total omni budget is, right? So I expect those things to carry forward and continue to be like a key part of the value proposition, as well as like overall vendors are just excited. Like it's a bigger deal at Target, right?
Yeah.
Putting more weight behind it. It is the primary promo muscle that Target has for both buyers and vendors to use.
Yeah, that primary muscle, Chris, what does that mean? Like, what are you seeing? Even when I was a buyer, Target's always been super famous for their weekly ad. You get it in the paper, everybody's excited about it. Like, how are you seeing that now change?
Yeah, and I think the weekly ad piece, like we've seen that start to migrate, but even like traditional kind of price point TPCs, a lot of that is migrating into Circle now, where Circle is now the tip of the spear, if you will, in terms of how Target promotes. So in the past, where there were these big kind of mass promotions just running in the weekly ad or as TPCs, those are now, again, kind of Circle first and Circle led. And again, using Circle as that primary promo vehicle.
Got it.
Um, so yeah, I think overall good, that it is, bigger, more important. I would say the one thing we have seen flagged as a, potential concern from our brand partners is just the auto apply and concerns about promo subsidization, right? So in the past, where Circle was a very surgical promotional tool, auto apply kind of changes the game a little bit there. So I think it's fair for our brand partners to be asking questions of, hey, if this deal is going to auto apply, like how many of those people getting that deal that were not opting into that in the past, how much of that activity is actually incremental to my business?
Yeah.
So those are the types of questions that we're hearing. I would say more on the concern side, where positively it's growing, it's bigger. On the efficiency side, like how do you continue to maximize the ROI that you're seeing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's grown up, right? It's sort of like I've known Circle for a long time, and when it started, it was super small, and then it's grown and grown, and it had reached pretty good scale for the last couple of years. It was a good lever, but it was always a little bit secret. It was always a little surgical. Now it's a bigger hammer, and I think hammers can be good because you can drive a lot of business, but you need to be a little more careful with hammers than you do with I don't even know what's a mini hammer, but I think you know. But I think that's you'd rather have it bigger and have to pull back. I think, and that's kind of what Target, honestly, now and a lot of our vendors are having to figure out is how to dial it back a little bit and play with it.
Right. Well, and there's still opportunities to do that. You just have to do it a little bit differently. So I know our last topic here was, how does that change the target promotion landscape? And if you think about kind of the two major swim lanes of promotions being vendor initiated and target initiated promotions, the vendor initiated side, like that offer strategy really needs to change, not go away, but just pivot, so that you can maintain some of the efficiency. So like a lot of our clients, for example, they're shifting a lot of their mass offers into audience segmented offers to maintain that autonomy and ensure that they're still driving incremental high ROI promotions. Looking into things like threshold and BOGO offers, where those capabilities are available. And then on the target initiated side, we have seen with the speed that this rolled out, a lot of buyer teams are still figuring out what that looks like for their business as well. So I would say short term, just a need to partner with your buyer, make sure you get as much visibility to how they're planning to promote at a category level, and sharing that feedback as a vendor partner to Target on how that impacts your budget, ROI that you see from promotions, markdown spend, obviously being a good one. All of those considerations.
Got it. Yeah, good talk. Um, let's start to get into the new experience because I think a lot of this will start to kind of come to life. So, all right, sharing my screen here now, and with kind of walking through the experience, and so I'll guide this part. I trust that if anybody on the phone that signed up for a Circle relaunch, Circle webinar, probably has gone onto their phone and looked at it. But if you haven't, pull it out. You can kind of look along with us. But first off is the relaunch. So they took over the whole front page of the ad, front page of the app, hired Kristen Wiig to kind of be the target lady again, which, was a cultural moment a number of years ago. And so what this tells me is they're fully invested in it. You don't pull in an A-list type celebrity for something that's going to, be a flash in the pan. And so this is, obviously a big deal for Target. Similar in-store, so relaunched a bunch of in-store ISM, both on the apparel floor pad, kind of with standalones, with end caps, with apparel pricing on it, and different treatments that they can use across the store to really pull in that Circle branding. Shifting into the digital experience, the biggest thing, and we've kind of created this cheat sheet. So I'll leave this slide up a little bit as I kind of walk through is, Circle just used to be Circle. There was just, offers. Now they have different offer handles. And that's really, when I logged in the first day and kind of got my experience, that's kind of what caught me is there's, now it says deals, and it tells you about it. And so they do that for 4 different ways within the app. The most common one is deals. That now is what used to be a traditional Circle offer is now an auto apply Circle offer. These now, will auto apply for anybody that signs in with a Circle shopper wallet or phone number at register. They do net down on the PDP, which we'll show a screenshot of that in a little bit. And then if they're target set up, they're signed at shelf. If they are vendor set up, they are not signed at shelf right now. So Target is still trying to, I think, manage their sign volume. There's only a certain number of signs that they can staff and print and manage to get up in the store. And largely speaking, right now, there's too many Circle deals for them to be able to actually physically sign all of them. So today, the way they're prioritizing is target setup versus vendor setup within that. That doesn't mean there aren't branded signed deals. It's just sometimes, Target approves those signs and goes in and gets that done for the vendors. On the bonus, so number 2 is bonus offers. These are traditionally segmented deals. And so what that means for our world is it might be a categories acquisition offer or a bounce back offer. We can find people that have bought a category before, but have not bought your brand. And so these are not deals that are available for any shopper. They're only available for the shoppers that we choose. And so that's why they're called bonus deals. Currently, with the way that the system is set up, target setup ones are tap to add, and you'll see some screenshots in a bit. The vendor setup ones are auto applied. So they still are auto applied to keep it easy for the shopper. But this is an area where we might see some change in the future as this experience is a little bit wonky between the 2 different types of offers. And we'll see which way, if Target's able to move all to a tap to add experience. From there, then, the ones in black are more traditional tap to add. The 3 coupon, these are fed from Quotient, which is now purchased by Neptune. They remain tap to add. But a call out here, if you're familiar with this, is about a month ago, these started working online. So they only used to work in store, but now they work online as well, which is sort of a plus in the column for Quotient offers. And so we foresee this area of business getting a little bit busier for Quotient to kind of maintain that tap to add business. And then number 4 is rebate. This is exclusive to alcohol. So it's pretty similar to Quotient, except for it's managed through a company called Vibe, only for alcohol offers. You can see here how these deals kind of have come to life. So, not only do they say deal : what it is, they also have introduced different types of deals. And so you'll see a lot more electronics deals now, a lot more kitchen, vacuums, sort of like big price point offers that have largely switched from TPC and are pulling it in at, AirPods Pro $189.99 and are just listing it as a price. That tactic can work for our food, our beauty, our essentials clients. It's not as traditional, at least within Circle. But if you want to line list a product at that product within a Circle offer, instead of going % off or dollar off, you can do that. And I think you'll start to see some of those businesses at least pilot into that and see if that works for them, because that is historically how they've done their TPCs or their weekly ads. You can also see BOGOs, and so there is a lot more BOGOs, buy 3, get 2, or different types of offers in the app, and we expect that to be a bigger piece of the program going forward as well. This is what the segmented offers look like. So again, these are the ones that are bonus tagged, and you can see the ones up top are the ones that are all auto applied. So there's a Heinz ketchup example on this example. And if you scroll further down, you see an Everspring and a Good and Gather chicken that are tap to add. So that's where the experience is a little bit different between vendor setup and target setup. And then Target's still using this functionality for their bonuses. So they're more store-wide GIs. These are the places where they like to get a little more creative and take shoppers on a journey to either purchase different parts of the store or big store-wide purchases. And you'll see these varied out by shopper. So somebody that doesn't spend as much money at Target might just be a $50 threshold. Somebody that spends a lot of money might be $100 or $200. Or somebody on our team the other day said they actually had a $400 one where they had not in a single purchase, but in a like over the course of time, spend this much money at Target and earn a bigger reward. So you'll see a lot more playing with that, I think, with Target as a way to manage that from their end, store-wide purchases. These are the manufacturer deals, or Quotient or Neptune, whatever term you're used to. But you can see they are still tap to add, apply, and they've been doing them a lot with the buy it again. And you can also see within the experience, these are floating up quite a bit in the experience. So if you're in it yourself, sort of looking for good circle deals, I think what's happening is, due to all the tap to ads in this space, those are sort of bumbling up because they're then trending and they're getting a lot of digital activity, and so they're kind of being served out to shoppers a little bit more than the deals, which are a little more flat from a social or from a virality point of view. So those are kind of sitting in the app and still searchable, but aren't floating up as much as the Quotient ones are right now. You can see the net down. So this was a big change for vendors. So a lot of our vendors got wind of this or worried about this before it launched. You can see here the Beats one, where the circle deal, it shows $1.99. It does that across the store for food, bev, essentials, whatnot as well. But some of our clients do operate MAPs or minimum advertised pricing policies. And for these clients, the good news is you can turn that on for your items within Target systems. And then it shows up like this one-a-day item where it does say see pricing cart, which makes it harder for web scraping companies and whatnot in that business to comp shop. And then in-store tags. So we talked about Target, setup ones being tagged. This here examples of some of their, home brands, and then a Dove brand as well, where they're getting tagged. On the flip side, so this is the worry where Chris sort of talked about subsidization, and so Target today is auto applying all mass deals, but not yet signing all auto applied deals. And so there are a number of examples across the store, like this Tillamook example, where you can see the deal within Circle. You don't have to add it. You can just sort of, you see it, Target Circle deal, save 10%. Then you go to shelf. There is not a sign on it. It's marked at $4.39. And then you can see on the receipt, reg price $4.39, 10% off, and you can see then it's marked down to $3.95. So this shopper hypothetically did not see the deal on their phone. They may not have, but they're a Circle shopper, and so they still saved. So this is the type of experience we would recommend to avoid as much as possible, where there is more highly likelihood for subsidization. And Chris will walk through some offer strategies in a bit where you can try to avoid these, because this is sort of the area where you're not going to get as good a ROI if you're trying to manage unsigned mass deals. It's offer count. So during Circle Week, Target stepped it up from a normal 622 offers to over 1,000. So they sourced a ton of offers, and you can see really pushed it in tech and entertainment and home, sort of less traditional coupon businesses moved a lot of their TPCs and weekly ad promos over to Circle for that week. And I think really that's a more likelihood going forward that more businesses start to do that. And then I think this slide here on Circle 360. So after the earnings call, a lot of news articles really focused on Circle 360. For some reason, that was sort of the headline. And really what it is it's a rebranding of the Shipped membership. So now if I'm a shopper that likes to shop Target, I go ahead and purchase a Circle 360 membership to get free delivery at Target, home delivery, local delivery, whatnot. And it's branded more as Target, where Circle is now a Target brand versus being branded as a Shipped membership. And so Target believes that this will really help them own it more and get more people to sign up. I will tell you, this still does give you free delivery on Shipped. So once you buy Circle 360, you can actually then use that, download the Shipped app, and still get free delivery from other grocery stores and retailers across the country that is in your neighborhood. So from here, kind of wrapping it up from the experience, really a couple of few takeaways for brands. And we touched on all of these kind of as we went through. But as far as what we're seeing, and Chris, add your thoughts kind of as we go here. But wins for brand, number one, Circle really elevated to that tier 1 asset at Target. It is now their probably most common promotional tool. celebrity endorsers. It is all over their website and weekly ad. And so it is a tier one asset for Target for the foreseeable future. With that comes about 70% sales impact. So it's larger scale, larger impact, more offer types with price point, with BOGO, with different things that you can do as a brand. And then also a better experience for mass media conversion. So that had always been a little bit of a hurdle for Roundel, which, if you were trying to run media talking about 20% off in Circle, that shopper still had to go into their phone and click, add that offer. And so your media experience wasn't as clean as it could have been. Where now you can advertise that as a Circle deal, the shopper can go ahead and get that discount right away without having to take that second jump. So a better guest experience there, which should lead to more effective off-shelf media.
And just to put some context behind that 70% sales impact number, that's because of the new auto apply functionality. Previously, we were coming from, across our client base, at least around a 25% sales impact, and that will vary obviously by category, by brand, by discount a little bit, but on average, that's what we are seeing, and that kind of feeds into the challenges slide as well. So, just working that math then from a sales impact point of view, that does mean, about 2.5 times higher costs for markdowns and fees anytime you run a mass offer today.
Yep. And then we talked about the unsigned deals. And then we've experienced, I mean, as an agency that sets up thousands of Circle offers a year, I would say we've just seen more growing pains over the last couple of weeks where, I think Target's trying to figure this out. They've got new systems, new strategies. And so a few more execution gaps than normal. But I think the belief on our end, as again, people that have worked with Target for a long time, is that these are growing pains. And then they'll figure these out and they'll kind of return to historical positive service levels sort of within that space. All right, from here, I'm going to shift gears a bit. So we promised winning strategies. So now that you've kind of heard us discuss, you've sort of seen the new experience, I'm going to hand it over to Chris to kind of talk through what he's been piloting for some of our clients and what are some things you can take away and try within your biz.
Yeah, I think we've got 4 of them here to walk through. So one pretty simple, straightforward, but a good reminder for a lot of brand partners is just to plan ahead. I think we have seen some temptation to sit on the sidelines through this transition. And when you add to that what are pretty long 8-week lead times to execute a promotion, by the time you decide as a brand partner, okay, I'm ready to get back in the Circle game, you're looking pretty far out in terms of being able to run a Circle offer. So 8-week lead time. Make sure you're planning as far ahead as you can. One offer at a time. So this has always kind of been, I would say, a loose guardrail in terms of stacking, but we have seen it become more of a system requirement. We have seen the language kind of referenced of combinability attributes of offers. That is a new-ish system limitation within Ivy from what we have seen, where they cannot execute because these deals are auto applying. Same UPC, 2 different mass offers or deals at the same time. So it is something that you need to watch a little bit more closely in some of your promotions, making sure you're not stacking your Circle offers on top of your circular ads or your TPCs as well. And then on the end of that 8-week lead time, like a good way to kind of plan around that is that even if you have an offer that you don't know necessarily if you can afford to run, if you're approved to run internally, it is easier to cancel an offer than it is to get flexibility to execute something within that 8-week lead time. So even if it's a little bit speculative, as long as that inflexibility on execution persists and that long 8-week lead time persists, we often advocate like, hey, get it in the system, get it submitted. It is easier to cancel an offer as you get closer in than it is to try to set up a new one. So, on a contingency basis, kind of plan your offer strategy and schedule that way. Number two, so Dave kind of touched on some of these as well, but this is the new landscape here, if you will, of different circle offer types. I would say the biggest trend that we have seen across our client base and what we have been advocating for is probably less mass offers or what is now that deal handle. There's still a time and place for those in certain instances when you are looking to maximize reach in a peak drive time, for example, or highlight innovation. Like you might still want to do these mass offers. But we have seen a lot of our brand partners shift more to the audience segmented deals in particular. Again, high level, the key talking points, if you are doing audience segmentation well and right, there is still a way to ensure, even if those deals remain auto apply. And again, we are hoping that that may change in the near future. They're still going to high incrementality audiences. So you still have control over who those are going to. Again, the big thing we're looking to avoid there more than anything is that we are not, subsidizing your base or your loyal shoppers with promotions that they don't necessarily need to make, regular purchases of your brand.
And
Um, yeah.
Chris, I'm going to jump in for a sec because a lot of the feedback or I'll ask you a question like a brand asks me, like, Chris, do I still get scale out of those bonus offers? Like I've run them in the past before and they haven't been a lot of business. Like what's the upside of running those?
Yeah, and I would say that that has been, a positive takeaway is that the trade-off between a mass offer and a segmented offer in the past is really efficiency and scale. Mass offering more scale, segmented offering more efficiency. In the early days of when Target rolled out segmented offers, the scale on those was really small, to the point where for some brands it almost felt like it wasn't even worth it because it wasn't moving the needle enough when you ran those. Um, that has balanced out quite a bit where the segmented offers now have a lot more scale, can really drive your business and show meaningful kind of top line incremental growth. But again, if you're doing the segmentation well, you can still ensure that those are going to a high incrementality audience. So yeah, that has been kind of one of the positive developments that we have seen with some of these changes.
Yeah, and a plug within that, obviously, for us as Digits is the segmented deals for some brands are ones where it takes more swings of the bat, if you will, to get to a point that you want to get to. It's not run it once for the year and get millions of dollars of upside. It's you need to have a consistent routine strategy to make sure that you're driving really great results by the end of the year. But yeah, it's
Yeah, that's a
not a one race. So.
No, not at all. That's a good and important call out, I think, is just that mindset is hard for some brands to get to. Like the frequency with which you need to run some of those, you do need to lean in a little bit more still, because there is that trade-off. The other thing I'd call out before we jump to the next one too, in mass offers, and again, the guardrails are still a little bit blurry right now of what Target's allowing, but we're also looking for and advocating for more threshold offers, spend gets, BOGOs, anything oriented around driving multiples and bigger basket sizes. And the rationale there is that even if deals are auto applying, that requirement to spend up to a basket size or purchase multiple units does almost function as its own form of opt-in, so that it gives you a little bit more cost control and liability where not as many people are going to qualify for getting the deal, as well as you are driving and influencing purchase behavior by making people maximize and buy more each trip. Number three, then. So we called out the lack of signage on vendor initiated offers as a potential gap or blind spot. That has really exacerbated the need to make sure you are driving awareness and amplifying your promotions where they're not going to be signed in store. We as Digits at Dave highlighted earlier, we run our own third party media back into Target. This is a strategy that we've actually been leveraging for a couple of years now, and I would say is a very good fit for what some of the developments have been within Circle is the ability to run media like physically in or near stores to again amplify those promotions where you're not giving the physical signs at shelf. You can layer in your category audiences as well, and just making sure that that target shopper when they're physically in store is going to have a higher likelihood that they're going to be aware that you are on deal, that you are running a circle offer and driving incremental behavior that way, as a sign that kind of we're on the right track there. Similarly, we have seen Roundel roll out some capabilities at a on a test level right now from what we have seen, but they are rolling out some programs running promo amplification on those little service kiosk screens in store. So that has definitely been a quickly developing trend that we have seen kind of in response to the new circle experience. Last one, then, number four is developing promo analytics routines. So a lot of what we're talking about here is very circle focused and largely through the lens of these vendor setup or initiated offers. But just with the amount of change there has been, it really begets a need to kind of zoom out a little bit more and just look at promo effectiveness, lift in ROI in particular for all of the promotions that Grip run at Target. So that has been a big trend that we have started to dig into more with a lot of our brand partners. Where yes, we have historically focused on kind of those vendor initiated offers in the past. Helping run through our promo incrementality model. Like, what do you get when your buyer runs a category general incentive, or when you're in weekly ad or on TPC? What are those ink sales rates and lift rates and ROIs that you're seeing, so you can kind of better understand your total promo mix in this new landscape at Target.
Yeah, to build on that, we've had some clients recently where, both ways. One, we've pulled this and their total markdown spend at Target is way up because Target's spending a lot of money lately. It's not always their money, but they're trying to drive business through promotions and through Circle. But then we've had some other clients where their Circle spends were up, but their TPC spends were down, and so it kind of like balances out within the space. And so, one of the big changes, and Chris hit it on it here, but we as Digits, within the services we provide to our clients, taking a broader view and not just analyzing, circle for circle's sake anymore. But what we think is going to happen is stuff that you might used to run as TPCs, you're now going to be directed to run as circle. And so, you're going to save money in one bucket and spend it in the other. And being able to kind of have, your arms around that will be important for the rest of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Nailed it. So yeah, just to put a bow on kind of those four winning strategies then. So plan ahead, even if it's speculatively 8-week lead times are on the longer side. Piloting new offer strategies, highlighted segmented offers, multiples offers, running and testing more in-store media as a way to drive awareness, especially for in-store where those are unsigned. And then again, kind of zooming out, taking that broader lens of your total promo mix and activity that includes Circle, but also weekly ad, category offers, TPCs, and so on.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. For us, if there is any further questions, I know there was one or two that popped in that I had answered sort of live. I can sort of verbalize it a bit if Mark is still listening. But question was around, measurement of circle segmented deals and potential Roundel media exposure. And with that, I would say that they're separate systems right now. Circle is a separate system, Roundel and their reporting is a separate system. And so, is there likelihood for double counting? Yes, I would say today, if you're just getting the readout directly from Target on their, the ROAS report, but I mean, it's real data. You're going to likely get a better ROAS and a better incrementality from your Roundel work if you have offers tied to them. And so that work is there. But then if you pull a incremental sales lift for your circle offer all by itself, they're kind of working together. And so it's not necessarily separate. But the other piece that we're working on there, or Target's working on, is the audiences. And so today, if you pull an audience for a segmented deal, it doesn't directly tie to Roundel. It's close, but they're not the same systems. And so we are seeing some testing and some rollouts that we hope Target will start to develop that, where those audiences will be a little bit tighter. But currently, right now, it's close but not exact. And so you kind of got to work your way through it a little bit more slowly. We also do a lot of that with third party for mass deals or for segmented deals, where we can kind of mirror Target's audiences in a similar way to try to get those offers out in front of people. A different question, say thoughts on vendor supporting through VI, the generic circle offers with no brand representation. Oh, yes, Lance, that's it's a good question. Chris, I'll start, and then to open up, we've had a lot of convos literally this week with clients, because they're just kind of coming off of Circle Week, and Circle Week was a ton of generic GI. So X off all pets, X off all coffee, X off whatever, sort of within that space. And today, most vendors have been asked to fund their share of those markdowns. I'd say most vendors are funding their share of those markdowns, because that's the historical plan with Target. But I'd say the money's adding up real quick. And I think most large scale or mid-sized CPGs are starting to talk to Target about that and say, hey, I've only got X budget and you've already used up X% of it. And so they're figuring that out, and we're coaching them through that. We can coach any of you guys through that, but that's sort of definitely being discussed, because I think there's too many days in the year for Target to keep spending the way they're spending, and it needs to sort of be figured out. But Chris, what are your thoughts? Because I know you have a lot of those combos.
Yeah, very hot topic, especially recently. And I would, again, go back to just understanding your promo mix. Like if that is the number one kind of burning topic or question on your mind, like definitely go back and look at what you're getting in terms of lifts relative to the markdowns that are being spent when you are a part of those category general incentives, so that you're well informed and can give that feedback to your buyer. Like, hey, if the ROI when the category is running these is your worst promotion in your total toolkit, like definitely share that with your buyer. And we have had, not that we would necessarily advocate for this, but we do have some clients that have had some of those tougher conversations with their buyers about whether or not they're willing to participate in those category general incentives. So having discussions about potentially opting out. Your demarkdown or comprehensive demarkdown agreement will somewhat dictate what you are on the hook for there. Those discussions and negotiations for those contracts, like moving forward, will obviously become more important in this new landscape as well.
Yeah, and post audits. I see your other comment there, Lane. Yeah, post audits are an annoying process for a lot of vendors. So that's something we get a little bit into to help where we can. The only other, well, just to build off of sort of what your question, because you might have been asking a little bit too, is Target does also run some of their own marketing, and not even like a GI, like let's say 20% off all coffee, but just sort of, I think what you were saying, maybe Veterans Day, or they do teacher appreciation. And those ones are even a little bit more hidden. And those are the ones also where we've seen a lot of vendors don't even know that they're running. Might be the birthday deal Circle does. And then all of a sudden you pull your VI or your markdowns at the end of the year, and that's 50 grand, 100 grand, bigger, depending on, the size of you as a CPG. And so that's part of the process that we as digits will help out with as well, is sort of having eyes and arms around that type of stuff to know what you're paying for. Because as Circle has been growing, vendors don't drive all of the Circle deals. It's a little bit more of a mixed bag now, and so you need to develop that muscle, that acumen, and that routine of kind of looking at all of it.
Yeah, would definitely highlight that as well. Like being able to dig into your promo redemption data through the right promo, the right data sets in vendor IQ to see kind of what are these markdowns actually being spent on. So the category general incentives, that's one, but there are a lot of enterprise level, those store wide segmented offers that Target is running. For some vendors, those are starting to add up to meaningful dollars. So just being able to understand, what markdown spend is adding up to on those types of activities, is important visibility to make sure you have as a vendor as well.
Let's see, we got one more. So question around, have we seen success with full brand offers across categories? So I'm assuming, you're 10% off Pokemon. I'm assuming you're meaning toys, trading cards, maybe t-shirts, so sort of across that. I don't know if we have case studies on that yet, Chris. I don't, I think the limitations in that space, Kate, has mostly been billing. The system on Target's end can accept whatever DPCIs that we want to put into it, but historically that offer needs to always get billed back to one person. And so if all Pokemon, let's say, has these 4 different vendors in it, or any new movie that's coming out, the Garfield movie or whatever, has products across vendors, then the bill still goes to one person, and so that's been harder to navigate. So short stories, I think it's possible, but we haven't seen as much success. What I think I would push to is still actually have a coordinated strategy and just have each person set up their own. And so you might have 4 offers, Pokemon trading cards, Pokemon t-shirts, Pokemon fruit snacks. And then you could run coordinated marketing through either Roundel or us, if you want to do third party, to sort of get that message out there that it's a full Pokemon sale. But that way the billing runs a little bit better. And talking out loud, I guess that even the new experience probably does that better, because in the old world, the shopper would have to go in and like click 5 different offers. And if now they're all auto apply, it just works within it.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. So cleaner from a billing perspective, easier from a guest perspective because it is auto apply. And then I would add to, like, it depends on the situation, but generally speaking, as Circle has gotten bigger, which we've highlighted is a good thing too. Just the costs that come along with that. We have seen more of a transition to trying to maintain that surgical nature that Circle has had in the past. Typically leads to the smaller, more narrowly focused offers, has been more of a winning strategy, at least in this early transition.
Cool. Well, I think those are all the live Q&As. Again, so that's a wrap. Thank you all for joining. This is our contact info. If you don't have it, my email, just Dave@Digits Agency, Chris@Digits Agency, or you can always find us on LinkedIn. We're pretty active there to messages or connections, whatever works best for you. So thank you guys all for joining, and we will be in touch, and good luck with the new Circle. Thanks, everybody.